everyone. We are going to go ahead and get started. We may have one or two additional committee members trying to join us yet this evening, but just in case they are not able to make it, I'd like to go ahead and get started. So welcome everybody on the Funding Review Advisory Committee. I'm sorry I have my back to everybody in the audience here, but on behalf of the committee, we would like to thank you for joining us tonight for the stakeholder input session. We do deeply appreciate the committee's time as well as all the attendees and the presenters this evening for being with us. As many of you know, the Funding Review Advisory Committee has been meeting over the past several months to evaluate the needs of our community and identify sustainable and equitable funding strategies to support key sectors that impact the quality of life and economic vitality of Columbus and Franklin County. This evening's session is different from our typical meetings. Rather than extended presentations from various sectors or subject matter experts, we are going to be hearing directly from stakeholders as an opportunity to learn their input. These are people that are community partners, organizational representatives, and stakeholders who are bringing forward their ideas and solutions and perspectives for the committee to consider. The testimony provided tonight is going to help shape our work as we continue to develop recommendations that will enable our public officials to make informed decisions that align with long-term community needs and values. So just to explain how this is going to work to everybody, this is going to be a testimony process that the presenters have already been provided information on. So they're going to come and present in the order in which they checked in with the city staff this evening, okay? If you are planning to present testimony and have not yet checked in, please do visit the staff desk. We still have an opportunity to add that to the list. Testimony is going to be presented to the committee from the podium here at the front of the room. Each stakeholder is going to be called to the podium by name. When I call for you to come forward, please state your name, your organizational affiliation, and the community, constituency, or sector you represent before your remarks. I'll also let all of you know who's the person right after, just so you can be prepared to come up. Each speaker will have 3 minutes to deliver their testimony. A countdown timer is going to be displayed on the monitors throughout the room, and it will chime when the allotted time has expired. That's just to make sure we stay on track. We do kindly ask that everyone remain respectful of the time limits so that everyone's voices have a chance to be heard. As a reminder to the committee members, digital copies of the testimony submissions can be viewed at our online OneDrive folder. We are going to go ahead, so I would ask all the committee members to be prepared to take their own notes. We will not be taking questions this evening. We're just going to be listening to testimony. So thank you. Hopefully that's clear for everyone, and we'll get started. I would like to go ahead and invite Jim Negron with GCAC to the podium. And just to be prepared, the presenter following her will be Elizabeth Brown with YWCA Columbus. Jim, welcome.
Good evening. Again, I'm Jim Negron. I'm representing Greater Columbus Arts Council, and I'm representing the arts community. Targeted investments doesn't always yield tangible results. But in Central Ohio, we could say with pride and certainty, our community investment in the arts delivers a clear and measurable return. Today, Columbus is a thriving arts community. It's improving the quality of life for our residents, drawing visitors from outside the region and capturing the attention of business and arts leaders across the nation. Quite simply, a vibrant arts scene motivates people to visit, move to, and stay in Central Ohio. That has always been the goal, but the truth is, impact has been far greater. Our arts organizations are opening doors for people who have never had access to the arts. They're preparing individuals and jobs and careers throughout workforce development initiatives, and they're providing more than 1 million arts education experiences to pre-K through 12 students every single year. The collective impact our nonprofit arts sector is significant. More than 13,000 jobs, $322 million in annual labor income, and $13.64 return on every single public dollar invested. We've achieved these results because GCAC has been delivered funneling investments from the community back in the community. By keeping administrative costs flat and investing in technology-driven efficiencies, we've been able to expand our grants and services. These resources help our artists and organizations meet basic needs while letting their creative talent, nationally recognized programming, and beautiful maintained venues shine. Now, we're all aware of the pressing needs in our community: food, shelter, healthcare, and dignity. These needs have only grown with intentional disinvestment from the federal and state levels. We stand firmly with our partners in the human service sector, and we welcome chance to share ideas and creative new funding mechanisms that prioritize Central Ohio's most urgent needs. But I must be clear, the resources now fueling our arts community are what made this transformation possible. Without them, progress would stall. If, for example, the arts would lose their share of the bed tax, it would take us back to when Columbus ranked near the bottom of our peer cities in arts support, which is lower in ranking than where we were 15 years ago. A thriving arts sector is not just a faucet we could turn on and off. It requires sustained focus, consistent resources, and long-term commitment. One of the smartest tools the community has created is the admission fee. This arts funding directly qualified offerings. The arts organizations that receive support, they also pay the admission fee, and their success grows and revenue stream supports them. Thanks to this mechanism. So thank you. I think I'm done. So I tried.
All right, you deserve a lot of credit for going first.
And I failed. No. Thank you.
No, you did not fail. We appreciate the message, honestly, and thank you for being here. Next up will be Liz Brown with the YWCA Columbus, and after that, Brandy Alisa from the Habitat for Humanity.
Thank you. I'm going to talk fast to get as much in as I can. Good afternoon, Chair Doyle Ahern, Vice Chair Bartley, and members of the FRAC. I'm Elizabeth Brown, CEO of YWCA Columbus, here representing the homelessness and nonprofit sectors. Thank you for the opportunity to address you today. Quickly, I also want to thank the public appointing authorities that convened this body. Council members, commissioners, Mayor Ginther, it is profound in this moment of American life that you have called our community into the creation of a smart, vibrant, and compassionate future. The construction of something is so much harder than the destruction of it. And public officials who are willing to do that hard work leave a legacy larger than themselves. Thank you. At YWCA Columbus, our mission of eliminating racism and empowering women is bound together with our work as a direct provider of shelter and housing. Since 1886, we have fought for a community where every woman and family has a safe, stable housing. Yet in rapidly growing Central Ohio, that is out of reach for many. Homelessness grew at 6 times the rate of our overall population growth this year. Today, for every 100 very low-income households, there are 28 affordable units. Amidst these growing pains, YWCA and the 6 other organizations who provide emergency shelter play a vital role. Serving nearly 10,000 people annually, we are the figurative emergency room for our housing system. When crisis strikes a household, a safe, dignified place to shelter should always be available. In fact, humans have 3 basic physiological needs: food, water, and shelter. And yet we fund shelter like it is a luxury, like it is optional, when the reality is that without shelter, a person cannot focus on any of their other needs. 20 years ago, YWCA Columbus opened the region's first family-only shelter. Every day since, our team has served Central Ohioans in crisis. When a family arrives, they're met with a compassionate team of professionals who link them with on-site childcare, a path to a stable lease, and other wraparound services that strengthen the family's future. In fact, the excellent results of Franklin County's emergency shelters pull down additional federal money into our housing system. But while HUD measures our work, it does not meaningfully fund it. The system has long relied on local discretionary dollars, which worked back when we opened our doors, but which now is quite simply failing. As of January 1st, the system faces a $25 million gap just to sustain existing services. In addition to the human cost of not adequately resourcing shelters, I want to emphasize that housing stability goes hand in hand with economic vitality. Communities that fail to protect their most vulnerable not only fall short on compassion, but also risk losing out on tourism, the arts, and broad economic growth. Without a predictable, dedicated revenue source, our community will see more people visibly unsheltered, and that cost to Columbus is human and economic. Thank you for being a part of creating a future where every Central Ohio resident lives with dignity and stability.
Thank you. Brandy. Next up is Brandy Alisa from Habitat for Humanity, and then Jennifer Leahy with Columbus Museum of Art. Thank you, Brandy.
All right. Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Thank you so much for taking on this very complex and important work. I am Brandy Alisa, President and CEO of Habitat for Humanity Mid-Ohio, representing part of the affordable housing nonprofit sector. Habitat is in the business of hope and opportunity. We connect people to home ownership, whether that means purchasing an affordable home or remaining in their homes through critical home repairs. Since 1987, we have helped more than 1,000 families purchase or preserve an affordable home. You've seen the data. The demand for affordable housing far outpaces the supply. At Habitat alone, last year, we received 298 completed applications for home ownership. The year before was 228. For context, last year, we built 15 homes. This year, we're going to build 10. That just shows, even just at Habitat, the disparity between the supply and the demand. Why are we building less homes this year than we did last? For the reasons you already heard from Erin Prosser when she testified or gave presentation. The cost of supplies and materials and labor has increased dramatically, 40% for us over 5 years. Behind each of those numbers, though, we remember that it's not just a number, it's a family longing for stability and a safe place to call home. You all know homeownership is a powerful tool to transform lives, strengthen communities, and create lasting change. According to our recently completed Family Impact Survey, 98.6% of Habitat homeowners report an improved quality of life, stating reduced stress, increased safety, and better health. Nearly 2/3 of parents surveyed said their children are doing better in school with improved attendance and behavior. Habitat's model of service is unique. We work across sectors and with volunteers and families to fund, build, and finance the homes. But even with our unique model, the affordable housing math is upside down. It costs about $250,000 of direct cost to build a modest, decent home. We are selling that home for about $180,000 with a zero interest mortgage. We operate as a developer, builder, and a bank. We fill that gap with public and philanthropic dollars, but you all know better than maybe anyone, those are finite dollars. We can and want to build more homes, but it requires increased revenue and unique partnerships. Another unique piece of Habitat's model, our homeowners go through about 200 hours of classes and volunteer work. Those classes are around financial wellness, budgeting, how to be a good neighbor, how to maintain your home. We have an opportunity with our model of classrooms, the class and preparedness, to partner with other organizations to think about how we're moving people through the housing continuum to eventually be homeowners, to work through their journey of housing with a sense of hope. You've studied the continuum of housing, all of which play a part in our housing fabric. I believe special attention should be paid to home ownership for obvious reasons, and Habitat looks forward to being a leader in helping bring that work to bear. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I know this is not an easy exercise, folks, so you're all doing great. So next up is Jennifer Leahy with Columbus Museum of Art, and then Subha Lembach, I apologize if I'm not saying your name correctly, with Charity Newsies.
Good evening. Thank you all for the opportunity to speak about something that I see every day and care deeply about, which is the power of the arts to transform individual lives and help communities to thrive. I want to share a snapshot of what that looks like at CMA, and that it is only possible with stable and robust funding. Art museums and the arts support well-being. Art museums provide renewal and reflection. Studies show that engagement with the arts increase cognitive, mental, and physical well-being. 70% of participants in our Art for Wellbeing program reported feeling more positive about life. And that hopefulness ripples out, right? Hopeful people make for hopeful communities. A common refrain from our collaboration with the OSU Medical School is that I feel like a weight has been lifted. And that program has spread to others in the healthcare industry who are working to support resilience in a high-stress field. We build community. In an epidemic of loneliness, arts bring people together for new experiences. Our free quarterly community days welcome 3,000 people for joy and connection. Picture beloved local caterers, art making, music, dance, and meaningful conversation. Families who meet at our toddler tours meet up later for play dates in the garden. Young professionals host mixers in our cafe. Dozens of nonprofits a year meet for free in our Talmadge community room. We foster critical and creative thinking. Every visit helps you to see the world differently and your place in it differently. Field trips measurably increase curiosity and openness to new perspectives. And it isn't just for kids. The World Economic Forum ranks creativity as a top skill for the workforce now and in the future across sectors. And Central Ohio businesses know it. They reach out to us to train their teams and are excited to share back the transformation that they have seen. We drive economic vitality. We've showcased Columbus-born artists like Amina Robinson and Ming Smith in presentations that have garnered national press like the New York Times, Forbes, and more. In the next 6 months, we will be the only Midwest venue for major national and international collaborations. And ambitious projects like those bring direct tourism dollars. Last year, we welcomed more than 61,000 visitors from outside of the county, and they elevate our region's reputation and ability to attract and retain top talent. Lastly, we forge transformative partnerships. From our many decades-long collaboration with CCS and higher ed to the Chamber of Commerce and, yes, the beloved Columbus Crew, we collaborate across sectors, and sustained funding enables those partnerships to last, grow, and evolve. Take Giovanna, a teacher we met more than a decade ago, partnering with her Head Start, and now we collaborate on an annual CCS pre-K day that she describes as unforgettable for hundreds of families. And that is what the arts can do. Open doors, build bridges. They are not just nice, they are necessary for making our region thrive. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think you just got the first gold star, by the way. I heard you guys say that was pretty good.
Okay.
If you'd introduce yourself, and then Ann Bischoff with Star House will be right after this. Go ahead.
My name is Shubha Lembach. I'm the Executive Director of Charity Newsies. I'm here representing the over 100,000 kids at 200% or below of the federal poverty level right here in Franklin County. And I also represent the nonprofit sector. Charity Newsies provides over 18,000 school-age children with the basics they need in terms of clothes so they can attend school. As I mentioned, there are over 100,000 kids in this community that have that need, meet our eligibility criteria. Right now, we, as a community, can serve only 20% of them. Clothing insecurity affects truancy, delinquency, attendance, literacy, and high school graduation rates. So all the educational things. Just as important for you to know, however, I come from poverty. I was born in India and immigrated here with my parents, who had $8 to their name when they came to this country. Luckily, they found a mattress on a curb and they had something to sleep on. Long story short, my parents worked really hard. Long story short, I worked really hard. I worked 3 part-time jobs, put myself through an Ivy League university, and got a full ride to a top 25 law school. I've been homeless, I've been hungry, I've had my struggles. Things have changed, however. Working people here cannot get ahead. You can work 2 or 3 jobs, like many of our parents do, and you're still unable to make the rent, buy food, and give your kids just the basics they need to go to school. As I tell just about everyone I talk to about the work we do at Charity Newsies in providing kids with clothing for school, our families need all the things. All the things means all the things. Food, shelter, clothing, mental health, safety, physical health, etc. You know what it is. So simple and yet so hard for us as a community to provide to our kids. I know that. I know you know that too. That's not why I'm here today. But I do want you to know some of the lenses I bring to this work. Nothing was handed to me. I've always been the scrappy underdog who can bark loudly and does not give up the chase. And in today's world, nonprofits, we're also the scrappy underdogs, but it's sure hard for us to bark loudly, and it's really tempting to give up the chase. In this current economic climate, what do we need? We need your courage, we need your creativity, and we need your leadership. We need direct conversations to face some of the harsh realities, a push focused on those whom we serve. We keep hearing about the need to share services, mergers, acquisitions, there are trainings, there's resources. What we need is support and assistance and direct guidance to make that happen. We hear about social enterprise. We know the need for social enterprise. It's a rough time to start a business. What we need is the amazing corporate community here to step up, help us figure that out, because I don't have the capacity right now when I'm trying to just keep the ship afloat to devote more time to that. Thank you.
Thank you very much for being here. Next up is Ann Bischoff with Star House, and then we have Dina Zaman after that. Thank you, Ann.
Good evening, Chair Doyle, Ahern, Vice Chair Bartley, and members of the committee. Thanks so much for the chance to testify today and for your commitment to this process. My name is Ann Bischoff, CEO of Star House, and I'm representing a coalition this evening, including Home for Families, Kaleidoscope Youth Center, Huckleberry House, and our Brother's Keeper. Together, we're representing the needs of young people experiencing homelessness in our community. In Franklin County, in just a year's time, this equates to 10,000 individual young people ages 14 to 24, with two top drivers: disconnection from family and a severe housing shortage. Without intervention, these young people risk chronic homelessness at a taxpayer cost of $35,000 per year per person. As you can see from submitted testimony, our collective impact is clear, but deep cuts to historically stable funding threaten our ability to prevent chronic homelessness into adulthood. An investment of $6 million in bridge funding into our coalition will allow for the creation of new sustainable funding. Rather than share our full submitted testimony, I'll share 5 strategies for human services organizations to withstand declining revenue, as well as related recommendations for FRAC. Number 1, human services organizations can monetize assets, such as expanding facility rentals and charging fees for trainings. Revenue potential for Star House, for example, up to $250,000 per year. Our related FRAC recommendation: fund capacity building, allowing nonprofits to scale fee-for-service offerings. Expand social enterprises, such as expanding affordable housing development to also create market rate housing for greater income. For example, if Star House creates 250 more units in the next 5 years, that equates to $1.3 million more in net income each year. Recommendation: prioritize social enterprise investments. Number 3, share staff, facilities, and other expenses. The recommendation, of course, is to invest in initiatives that make this happen. Reduce expenses without impacting services. For example, in response to state cuts to human services, Star House cut $1.5 million while ensuring that individual youth services remained at the same hours of services for youth in our program. Recommendation: provide bridge funding to prevent deeper cuts while plans to generate new sources of revenue mature. Number 5, engage in new and innovative fundraising strategies. For example, support community giving challenges that match contributions with public and private funds to close urgent gaps. With the community's investment, these strategies would safeguard life-saving services. The collective gap is simply too large to fill with traditional funding alone. Human services agencies must enhance self-generated revenue, and we need your help. Thank you for your time and your commitment.
Thank you very much. Like to invite Dina to the podium, please. And after that will be Juanita Birch with YWCA Columbus.
Hi, everyone. My speech will be the worst. the the one I heard. It's all different than mine, and I don't have time to change it because I don't know so much English. I'm Dina Zaman. I'm representing GCAC. I came to this country as an adult, and that was a challenge. I had to learn from ground up. I moved from a warm tropical country to Ohio, snowy Ohio. I saw snow for the first time in December 2005, yes. So I cannot read this. So I came as an adult, everything was a challenge. I had to adjust when I ate waffle for the first time. It's so different because we used to eat potato and tortilla in the morning. And that's all dry, and waffle is little slippery. So everything from waffle to rickshaw, we used to ride rickshaw, and then here is car. I never drove a car, and all the art galleries, art shows and fairs were so far. When I used to drive on the highway, my hand used to sweat because I was so scared. So I felt so lost and invisible. Even when I went to galleries, I had to translate all the sentence from my language to English and speak up. Not everybody had patience to listen to that. So I was searching, and then on my search, I found few organizations, and Greater Columbus Arts Council is one of that. And I don't know, is it someone or magic? Everybody is so nice. They gave me time to understand me, and they took time to explain me again and again what projects are, because I did not even understand all the English. So they changed my life. I went there, still remember, I'll remember all the time. I went to a GCAC for a 40,000 project I wanted to apply for. And I met Allison for the first time, and she said, that's a project for an organization, not for individual artists. But I just love your story and your ideas, so why don't you curate an art show in our gallery? And that changed my life. I just came back from Italy. I had a show in Rome, Modena Art Gallery in Florence. I signed up a consignment with a gallery, Tobian Gallery. I had my show in New York, Jamaica Center for Arts and Learning, and it's all because of GCAC. And Allison and Mackenzie, Tom, Kayla, everyone. So there are many people like me, many artists like me who want this support. And thank you for GCAC and the city for this support. Thank you.
You did just fine. Thank you for joining us today. Okay, Juanetta Birch is up next, and then after that will be Cantrell Butler.
Good evening, Chair Doyle Ahern, Vice Chair Bartley, and distinguished members of the Funding Review Advisory Committee. My name is Juanetta Birch, and I have the honor of currently serving as the Service Coordinator for the Women's Residency Program at the YWCA Columbus. I sincerely appreciate the opportunity to present testimony before you today. In 2009, I moved to Columbus with my 3-month-old son in tow. I had a plan and was ready to start a new life after the tragic passing of my fiancé. I initially stayed with a friend, but the situation quickly became difficult, and I found myself needing a safe place for us to live. That's when I learned about the YWCA Family Center. I was scared because this was completely new territory for me. I expected the worst, imagining something dark, drab, and unsafe, like the shelters you see on TV. But what I found was something entirely different. The Family Center was warm and bright, filled with helpful staff and amazing volunteers. And one of the best parts was the on-site childcare, which allowed me to focus on getting us back on our feet while knowing my baby was being lovingly cared for by people I trusted. I stayed at the Family Center for about 28 days. In that time, I found a full-time job and secured a 2-bedroom townhouse for us. The staff there supported me every step of the way and helped me navigate the process, providing financial assistance and encouraging me when I needed it most. Looking back, I am immensely filled with gratitude. That time in our lives was scary and uncertain, but the kindness we received made all the difference. The volunteers who joined us for dinner offered more than just food. They offered us encouragement and a sense of community. And the staff there always had kind words and genuine support. The YWCA truly was a launching pad for my new life here in Columbus. Today, that 3-month-old baby is nearly 17, and he's a junior at Hilliard Bradley High School. He wants to become an EMS tech so he can help people when they need it most. As for me, I've bought a home. I'm close to finishing my bachelor's degree in social work, and probably the most meaningful development of all, I've come full circle by joining the YWCA Supportive Housing Team as a support coordinator. Stories like mine are unfolding each day at the YWCA Family Center, and I sincerely hope you'll remember the work this incredible organization is doing to help women like me become the best version of themselves as you form your recommendations. This is my favorite story to tell. Thank you for supporting Housing for All.
Thank you very much. Congratulations, by the way. It's a pretty amazing story. Cantrell Butler will be joining us here, and then after that will be Gina Jin from the Columbus Early Learning Center.
Good evening, Madam Chair and committee members. My name is Cantrell Butler, and I'm the Executive Director of the YMCA's Van Buren Center, a place that represents safety, renewal, and hope for individuals and families experiencing some of the most difficult moments of their lives. Every day, Van Buren opens its doors to people in crisis, mothers with children, individuals facing job loss, seniors on fixed income, and community members struggling to find stability in a challenging housing market. Last year alone, we housed 166 families and 218 single adult women. Every night, we welcome up to 800 guests, which includes families, women, and during inclement weather, we open our doors to men as well. With low barrier access and a housing-first approach, we work tirelessly to help each guest more quickly into safe and stable housing. We provide more than a bed for the night. We provide a plan, a pathway, and the support needed to create lasting change. Our team meets each person where they are, with compassion, with respect and commitment. We walk alongside every guest until stability becomes their reality. One story that illustrates our work is of a mother who entered our shelter after losing her home. With support from her case manager, she updated her resume, prepared for interviews, secured part-time employment, and was able to move her family into safe, stable housing, with assistance for her security deposit and her first month's rent. This story is just one of many. Each represents courage, resilience, and the transformative impact of our work. Your continued investment ensures that this work goes on, that a family in crisis today can become a family thriving tomorrow. It allows us to continue meeting people with compassion and providing them the tools they need to rebuild their lives. As you consider recommendations, I urge the committee to ensure guaranteed and sustainable funding for shelter operations in Columbus and Franklin County. Stable support means hundreds of families and individuals will continue to have a safe place to turn when they face hardship. Without it, the impact would extend far beyond shelter, affecting health, community safety, and the dignity of those we serve. I also encourage you to see the shelters not just as a temporary refuge, but as a cornerstone of Columbus' commitment to human dignity. A place where people are seen, supported, and given the opportunity to begin again. In closing, thank you for your time, for your partnership, and for your belief in the power of community. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Welcome Gina to the podium, and then after that would be Iyad Hassan with the Breathing Association.
Good evening, and thank you to all the members of the FRAC for allowing testimony here today. My name is Dr. Gina Ginn, CEO for Columbus Early Learning Centers. I am also a Columbus resident, represent the early childhood education and child care sector, and a proud member of the Human Services Chamber and an HSC board member. CELC was founded in Columbus in 1887 and provides home visiting and early learning at 6 gold-rated centers in the central Columbus neighborhoods. The ROI is well known for early education and care, yet the current system is untenable. Supply and demand does not work when care for one young child is at rates well over $12,000 a year, and mostly unrealistic for most families. For a single mother of one child to qualify for Ohio's child care subsidy, she would have to earn less than $13.50 an hour, working a 40-hour-a-week job. The state of Ohio just enacted that they will only reimburse centers at the full-time rate if parents work 33 hours or more per week. Again, low-wage jobs that reliably schedule workers 30 to 40 hours per week are extremely rare. To work in the human services sector is not for the faint of heart. Our business systems and funding structures are complex, and many of us operate on a zero profit margin while navigating the constant trauma of our families, sometimes violent neighborhoods, cost-raising inflation, and tariffs with no corresponding increases in contracts and grants, federal threats to funding, competition for talent, especially when our work cannot be done remotely or in a flexible work environment. Esteemed City Council members and FRAC members, without solid investment in the nonprofit human services, residents of Columbus will lose the supports that sustain them, and thousands of children and families will suffer irreparable harm. From FRAC 1.0, I believe we need to revisit the idea of a human services levy as a long-term solution. But in the short term, there are a few other possible opportunities to generate revenue to support additional grant monies for the health and human services sector. One, we ask that the committee consider some sort of license fee or profit sharing from the many for-profit companies who bid on and win city and county contracts, earning millions in municipal dollars each year. Another potential revenue stream would be some fee or ongoing subscription-style payments required by developers who actively receive tax abatements. And third, a good citizen donation program fee. For-profit companies with offices and employees that come into downtown Columbus each day could give a rate based on the number of employees that come into the city for work. Proceeds from these 3 revenue generators would go into a newly established human services fund at the City of Columbus, Franklin County, to support the needed investments in the sector. Thank you for the opportunity and for your work with FRAC 2.0.
Thank you very much. Do we have? Oh, okay. And then after Iyad, we have Brady Shawley with Seeds of Caring. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, council members, for having me a chance to speak today. Today, I am here to talk to you about the Breathing Association. My name is Iyad Hassan. I am president and CEO. The topic I want to focus on today is something we take for granted every day, which is the breath. 1 out of every 10 individuals in Central Ohio suffers asthma and suffers from COPD. And sadly, the other thing too that we need to talk about, what our agency covers, is energy insecurity, where 1 out of every 4 Ohioans suffers from that. The Breathing Association proves that every day it's very important for us to handle our 1,500 patients that we see annually and 15,000 customers that we deal with energy insecurity. 3 out of every 5 of our patients do not have insurance. 43% of our patients have stated they would have gone to an emergency room if we were not there. We are a savings of $900,000 in emergency community costs. We believe that it's important to take every breath seriously. In fact, we provide physicals free of charge so that people can go to work. We believe that work development is part of this, and as a nonprofit, it's important to step in to help the underserved. We run tobacco cessation programs for schools, where the youngest child we have intervened with was 7 years old, caught vaping in the bathroom. If that's not urgency, I need you to reconsider. We don't just stop there, as I stated. We deal with energy insecurities. Through HEAP, PIP, as well as energy saving kits, we help lower costs. In fact, the savings help buy food. They, more importantly, even allow medications to be filled. In fact, we calculated that $7.5 million to $15 million in annual savings is what we use to help stabilize these homes. We've actually measured this, and something that I believe FRAC 2.0 should look at is looking at social ROI. What is the actual dollar that we bring back every day as a nonprofit? We have actually calculated that some of our programs return back not just $3 to every dollar invested, but maybe possibly up to 15. Tell me, in today's economy, where do you get that type of return? This is why supporting nonprofits is so important, and supporting organizations like the Breathing Association, where we have served this community for 119 years. I could give you suggestions like establishing loan loss reserves for nonprofits, matching corporation donations, even possibly creating an innovative hub where all of us can get together. But the big point that we have here is that we're just not nice to have. We are essential. And we multiply the impact of every dollar we receive. And the cuts that have been given to us are sad, but we will make it through. Thank you so much, and I appreciate you.
Thank you very much. Brady. After Brady will be Rachel Lustig with Lutheran Social Services of Central Ohio.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Brandy Jimchura, and I am the founder and executive director of Seeds of Caring. And Brady and I are here today representing the nonprofit sector. Thank you sincerely for taking on this important work during this time of rising needs and for being willing to embrace bold action. Tonight, I am really excited to introduce to you Brady, who is a 10-year-old participant at Seeds of Caring, and he's been with our organization since he was 4. I think you'll see why voices like Brady's are an important part of this conversation. So I'll turn it over to Brady.
Just like she said, I'm 10 years old, and my name is Brady. Thank you so much for letting me be here today. It means a lot that you are working to make sure nonprofits in Columbus have the money they need. That shows me you care about our community and everybody in it. One of the biggest things I've learned from Seeds of Caring is that everyone needs help sometimes, and everyone can give help sometimes, even kids. I remember when I packed snack bags for people who didn't have homes, and I learned that everyone can make a difference, even if it's a small one. Doing that made me feel proud and like kindness was sprouting, but it also made me realize how hard life can be for some people. Through Seeds of Caring, I've also gotten to know so many nonprofits in Columbus. One nonprofit that I went to was the Broad Street Food Pantry, and I remember that there were truckloads of food they had to deliver so that people weren't hungry. I know they can't keep doing that work without money. I want them to have enough money to feed everyone who needs it. Seeds of Caring also taught me that in a community, we have to stand up for each other and do the right thing. Sometimes the right thing is scary, but that still doesn't stop anyone, and I mean everyone, from doing the right thing. Some grown-ups think kids don't notice what's happening around us, but we do. We care about the people in our city too, and I hope someday I'll be doing what you're doing. So when you make decisions about how to get money to nonprofits, I hope you'll remember that kids want to live in a community where people come together and help each other. So I just want to say thank you again for being at this table, listening to me, and for being you. Thank you.
Brady, before you go, I just got to say two things. First of all, kind is cool. Okay, and secondly, what you just did is pretty awesome. You should be really proud of yourself, and I have no doubt you're going to be sitting in our seats someday. Thank you for coming. Really cool. All right, we have Rachel Lustig joining us, and then after that, Melissa Sirac from YMCA of Central Ohio. Thanks, Rachel.
I want to echo Brady's words of thanks. This would be hard in any environment, but you guys find yourselves in the midst of a prosperous community. And after a period of hyperinflation where FRAC dollars are leaving, and now we're dealing with the federal changes. So thank you. This is many of you are doing this in your volunteer work, and I just want you to know that there are those of us who really understand what you stepped forward and said you would do. I'm Rachel Lustig. I serve as president and CEO of Lutheran Social Services, which runs Choices, our community's only domestic violence shelter, and Faith Mission, a 60-year-old homeless shelter in our community. I want to share two numbers. The first is 48. That's the number of domestic violence shelter beds that Lutheran Social Services can afford to keep open without bridge funding. Those 48 beds exist thanks to a patchwork of public grants and the generosity of individuals and corporate donors. But our average daily census is not 48. It's 129 in a community that had 33 domestic violence deaths. If we are forced to right-size to that 48, Choices, which already turns away people who are in danger of getting seriously hurt, will be forced to turn away people who are in danger of being killed. The second number is 158. That's how many single men last night in the rain were on the wait list for a shelter bed in Franklin County. Our community, thankfully and courageously, has made a commitment to families so that they will never be waitlisted. But during the summer months, hundreds of single men and women are turned away every night. As the provider of Faith Mission serving 250 people, single adult men and women in 2 downtown locations, I advocate for both our downtown business owners whose livelihood depends on people coming through their doors, and for those experiencing homelessness. Faith Mission is the most requested shelter in our system, and it has a success rate of 7% recidivism, meaning that only 7% of people who come to Faith Mission return to homelessness. That shows that people don't just want help. They seize the opportunity when it's offered. These are individuals who have faced tremendous hardship, and when they are given a chance, they run with it. So I urge you to help secure equitable, dedicated funding streams for shelter services beyond general revenue, and to support investments that align with our community's strategic vision for ending homelessness. Lutheran Social Services and the shelter providers stand ready to partner with you in this urgent work. Thank you for your leadership and commitment to this critical investment in our community's future.
Thank you, Rachel. Melissa? Okay. After Melissa, we have Ryan Castle with Community Housing Network.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the committee. My name is Melissa Sirac, and I serve as the Senior Vice President of Housing, Shelter, and Social Responsibility for the YMCA of Central Ohio. While our CEO, Tony Collins, couldn't be here today, many of you know his passion for moving this work forward. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. The YMCA operates the Van Buren Center, one of the largest emergency shelters in the nation. Every night, we provide low-barrier access and a housing-first approach, serving up to 800 individuals, families, women, and men, while helping people move quickly into safe and stable housing. I speak not only for the YMCA, but alongside colleagues across Central Ohio. Together, we remain steadfast in serving, despite growing funding, staffing, and facility challenges. Emergency shelter is essential. Even if every needed housing unit were built tomorrow, people in crisis would still require refuge. Many of us are closer to homelessness than what you may think. For some, one crisis or loss of support is enough. We know how to run shelters that meet community needs. The challenge is not operations, but an environment increasingly restrictive, prescriptive, and unstable in funding. Too often, we rely on temporary fixes such as ARPA dollars or late allocations arriving months after the services have been provided. This model is broken. It prevents planning, retaining skilled staff, or sustaining quality services when the need is the greatest. There are nights where more than 400 people are on the shelter wait list, while 800 are housed at Van Buren. This is unmanageable, unsustainable, and inhumane. These services are urgent and worthy of your support. Shelters are our community's safety net, operating amid rising costs and growing need. I urge the committee to consider guaranteed, sustainable funding for shelter operations in the city of Columbus and Franklin County. Without stable investment, hundreds of families and individuals would have nowhere safe to turn. And the cost to healthcare, public safety, and most of all, human dignity would be profound. The YMCA and partners stand ready to innovate, collaborate, and remain accountable. We need assurance this essential safety net will not fray. We are grateful for the support provided by the City of Columbus and Franklin County, which has been ever so vital to this work. Thank you for your time, service, and recognition of the urgent need for sustainable funding for the shelters in our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa. We have Ryan joining us next, and then Kalitha Williams with Columbus Policy Institute after that.
Yes, I'm Ryan Castle. I am with Community Housing Network. We are part of the human services sector. Thank you for having me today. Community Housing Network develops, owns, and manages permanent supportive housing. We have more than 1,800 residents, including John, who after aging out of foster care became homeless and is now stably housed in a trade school and building a future for him and his family. And also Tanya, who overcome childhood trauma and severe illness and is now healthy, housed, and caring for her daughter and grandchildren. Permanent supportive housing combines housing that is not time-limited with on-site services. It is our best strategy for creating stability for people who have been homeless for long periods of time, or what we call the chronically homeless. Housing chronically homeless individuals saves money by keeping people out of expensive emergency and crisis services. As Aaron Prosser testified this summer, Columbus's structural housing challenges are worsening, making it more likely that Columbus's most vulnerable citizens will become homeless. Per the 2025 point-in-time count, homelessness arose by 7.4% from the prior year. The result of the lack of housing supply and the increased homelessness is a lengthening of the average time people who are unhoused are in shelter, which is now more than 3 months long on average. The need for more permanent supportive housing is growing in our community. The Community Shelter Board estimated that unsheltered homelessness could increase by 68% by 2028. Large increases in unsheltered people impacts the city's tourism, economic development, and crisis systems. Being unsheltered also means higher rates of mental illness, substance abuse, victimization, and physical abuse, and longer periods of homelessness for those going through it. Unfortunately, federal resources for rent subsidy and supportive services, both are foundational to permanent supportive housing, are being threatened at the federal level. At Community Housing Network, HUD funds approximately $6 million in rent subsidy and $2.1 million for services annually. Recent executive orders have created a predicament for HUD: either roll back funding from successful permanent supportive housing programs or defy the president. Politico last week reported that HUD's decision is to make sweeping changes that would dramatically reduce funding for permanent supportive housing. Approximately $2.2 billion will be shifted away from permanent supportive housing across the country. That's 170,000 people in our nation that live in permanent supportive housing. Permanent supportive housing helped Columbus reach functional zero for veteran homelessness, and it nearly did the same for people who are chronically homeless. Permanent supportive housing is proven, cost-effective solution to homelessness. Rental subsidy and service funding create and sustain permanent supportive housing. With changes at the federal level, the city may need to step in and fund into the funding void to sustain this sector. The vibrancy, vitality, and viability of Columbus depends on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. Okay, we have Kalitha Williams and then Nicole Gomez at Primary One Health after that.
Good evening to the members of the Funding Review Advisory Committee. My name is Kalitha Williams, and I'm the director of the Columbus Policy Institute, a policy think tank focused on ensuring all Central Ohioans share in the prosperity of our community. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today. Central Ohio is growing in population and prosperity. Unfortunately, not everyone is benefiting. Rising costs are not keeping up with wages, and many families are having difficulty making ends meet. I offer two revenue strategies for consideration: an equitable framework for tax abatements and creating a sustainable, scalable direct payment program for workers with low incomes. There have been many discussions around new revenue streams, but tax abatements, which reduce available revenue for programs and services, should be included as well. According to analysis from Good Jobs First, in 2023, Franklin County, the City of Columbus, and Columbus City Schools collectively lost nearly $60 million to tax abatements. And these amounts do not include losses to support older adults, children in crisis, and people with mental health conditions. Tax abatement policy should reflect our collective values, not just economic development. The Equitable Development Rubric from the Cincinnati-based Peace Lee Neighborhood Center recommends an approach focused on housing affordability, jobs and labor, community input, and community footprint. We should boldly re-examine our community revitalization policies without fear of being labeled anti-business. Many Central Ohioans are struggling, and a direct payment program could boost their incomes. For over 50 years, the Earned Income Tax Credit has been the nation's most powerful anti-poverty program. 31 states, New York City, Baltimore, Maryland, and all Maryland counties offer EITCs. The City of Columbus's Economic Mobility Accelerator pilot program is another example of a solid direct payment program. Local leaders should scale up a permanent income support program. I do not envy the committee's charge of balancing funding realities and the growing needs of Central Ohioans. I offer an equitable tax abatement policy and an income-boosting program as an opportunity to expand economic prosperity in our region. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, we have Nicole Gomez and then Christy Hayes with Make a Day After Her. Welcome, Nicole.
Thank you. Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to be heard. I'm Nicole Gomez-Otaico, the Chief Operating Officer of Primary One Health, Franklin County's oldest and largest provider of health care to uninsured residents, and one of the few federally qualified health centers serving our most vulnerable neighbors. I'm here on behalf of all nonprofits because our work doesn't just benefit the underserved, it protects the financial health of the city as a whole. Grab your pencils. Between primary care, pediatrics, women's health, behavioral health, substance use disorder, dental and vision services, along with specialty services we're now offering in partnership with And Health, we currently serve over 35,000 patients annually, amounting to over 100,000 patient visits. For each visit, we prevent as much as $1,000 in unnecessary emergency room cost. If even 10% of our annual visits ended up in the ED, that would amount to, anyone? $10 million of unnecessary expense. The service we provide frees up emergency departments to treat true emergencies, reduces strain on hospital systems, and improves outcomes across the board. And yet we're doing this cost-saving work while absorbing substantial losses. Last year alone, through our 340B prescription program, we provided patients with over $4 million in prescriptions at the expense to Primary One Health of nearly $850,000. Over 30% of our medical patients have no coverage through Medicaid, Medicare, or commercial insurance. That number doubles to 60% for dental. Even those with commercial insurance face such high deductibles, it's as if they are uninsured. And community health centers like Primary One Health provide their care. If not us, who? This year, the entire community felt the impact of a reduction in our capacity to deliver OB care. Columbus Public Health and our fellow healthcare partners across Franklin County are anxiously awaiting our return to full women's health services, which we're optimistic will begin by the end of 2025. This requires us to hire providers at a time when they are in high demand and short supply across the entire healthcare ecosystem. We are challenged to compete with the salary and benefits packages of larger health systems and the evolving landscape of federal funding. While we've implemented our own in-house pharmacy to generate revenue and become more self-sustaining, we can't do it alone. We're asking this committee to champion bold funding strategies that support the workforce behind these services: dentists, primary care and OB clinicians, behavioral health providers. A modest investment in FQHCs yields a return that's more than double in financial savings and immeasurable in terms of quality care, clinical outcomes, and community stability. Thank you for the time and passion you each bring to this committee. We're incredibly grateful for the continued support of the City of Columbus, Franklin County, and our many valued partners across the community. We are at the most pivotal moment in the 60-year history of community health centers. We are not asking for charity, we're asking for partnership. Help us help you, because when community health centers thrive, Columbus thrives. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicole. We have Christy Hayes with Make a Day, and then Maureen O'Brien with Columbus Symphony.
Good evening. My name is Christy Hayes, and I serve as Executive Director for Make a Day and a member of the Human Services Chamber. Make a Day is a grassroots nonprofit founded in 2018. We serve neighbors experiencing homelessness and poverty across Franklin County through mobile meals, pop-up care villages, and barrier removal support such as housing navigation, legal help, and workforce linkages. Last year alone, nearly 12,000 people came through our door, and those doors were at library branches, pop-ups in parking lots, and our mobile outreach van. I share that because organizations like ours are exactly what's at stake in this conversation. At a chamber meeting recently, a colleague said, "ARPA funds allowed us to be collective, and now we have to compete again." That one sentence captures where our sector stands. ARPA showed us what's possible when nonprofits are resourced at scale. For Make a Day, it meant expanding our pop-up care villages to new zip codes, launching our Move the Boss initiative, our mobile expungement initiative, which has a return of $46 per dollar vested, and building partnerships without worrying who got credit because collaboration was finally funded. But in this post-ARPA world, we are snapping back to scarcity. Funding streams are fragmented, dollars are restrictive, and nonprofits are forced into competition, and that competition doesn't fall evenly. Larger institutions with long-standing infrastructures often adapt, but smaller community-rooted organizations, the ones closest to neighborhoods, the ones willing to take risks and innovate, are the ones most at risk. When that happens, we lose variety that makes this sector strong. We lose innovation because grassroots groups are where bold ideas begin. And we lose trust because our neighbors turn to us first, the organizations that are present in their community. If Columbus is going to thrive, we need sustainable, equitable funding strategies that provide us with multi-year flexible dollars so planning can move beyond crisis response, to invest in infrastructure so staff aren't holding up fragile systems, to reward collaboration over competition so that pop-up, outreach, and legal navigation continues to weave together through dozens of partners, and to build trust by measuring outcomes. Public investment is the foundation that attracts private and philanthropic support. That's how we grow impact. That's how we multiply our dollars. Scarcity is a decision, competition is a decision, collaboration is also a decision. We've already seen when that's possible, when collaboration is fully funded. The choice is before us whether we want to go backwards into scarcity or sustain a diverse, risk-taking, collaborative, nonprofit sector that ensures every resident not just survives, but thrives. Thank you.
Thank you, Christy. We have Maureen and then Nick Stanek with Franklinton Farms.
Hi, I'm Maureen O'Brien, representing the arts sector. As a new resident of Columbus and CEO of the Columbus Symphony, I have been quickly impressed by how collaborative our local arts sector is and how often its leaders meet to ensure that we're contributing to the health, vibrancy, and competitiveness of our community. The experience of other cities demonstrates the power of cultural investment. I relocated from Miami, where $1.3 billion in public-private partnership dollars invested in cultural infrastructure over the last 20 years to construct the New World Center, Perez Art Museum, ICA, Frost Museum of Science, and the Arch Center have acted as a direct catalyst for dramatic economic growth. Those investments have helped Miami attract global companies and leaders, including Ken Griffin of Citadel, who cited Miami's cultural vibrancy among the factors that led him to relocate thousands of employees. Columbus is on the precipice of the same kind of renaissance. We must position ourselves as a city where the arts are not a luxury, but a driver of prosperity, innovation, and quality of life. When people and businesses consider relocating to a community, the presence of a strong cultural sector is a deciding factor. World-class music, theater, dance, and museums aren't just amenities. They're essential to helping Columbus attract and hold on to the talent that drives our economy forward. The musicians and staff of CSO are not distant figures on a stage. There are neighbors who pay taxes, buy homes, send their kids to local schools, teach at universities and schools via private lessons, and contribute every day to the civic and economic life of Columbus. CSO reaches far beyond the concert hall. We meet people where they are, bringing performances and education programs into neighborhoods, schools, and community spaces in Greater Columbus and to underserved rural areas. In doing so, we reflect the vibrant array of voices and perspectives in our region and ensure access for all. A thriving cultural sector pays dividends far beyond ticket sales. Visitors who come for concerts also support hotels, restaurants, and retail. Equally important, the arts nurture qualities that every strong society depends on: critical thinking, empathy, collaboration, harmony, and inclusivity. In today's increasingly fractured world, we need more positive models of functioning society. Maestro Stefan Deneuve posited that an orchestra is exactly that. People from different backgrounds, religions, political affiliations, ages, and races coming together, attuning to one another, listening, and collaborating to make something beautiful. For all these reasons, I urge the committee to prioritize meaningful investment in the arts. For Columbus to reach its full potential, it's going to require public, private, and philanthropic partnerships. Supporting the arts isn't just about beauty and inspiration. It's about building a stronger, more competitive, and more connected Columbus for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have Nick. And then we have Susan Bradford with Lincoln Theater.
Thank you for the opportunity to present today, a testimony highlighting the needs of small grassroots nonprofits in our community. My testimony is much like Christie's with Make a Day. I represent Franklinton Farms. My name is Nick Stanich. I'm the executive director. I helped found the organization back in 2010-ish. Stepped out for a bit from 2020 to 2025 or 2024 and came back in August of 2024 to help out. It's been a rocky time stepping back into the nonprofit world with the current federal administration. So Franklinton Farms, we've built and stewarded 12 gardens, and we're a farming and volunteer operation that spans 28 parcels within a 2-block area of Franklinton. Each year, our farm hosts thousands of volunteers from across Central Ohio. We introduce hundreds of kids and families to fresh, healthy food through gardening, and we grow and distribute well over $100,000 worth of produce throughout our community and across Central Ohio. We're a major civic anchor in Franklinton, providing neighborhood identity and pride to a community that has long struggled with disinvestment, poverty, and poor health outcomes. Franklinton Farms, as a grassroots, neighbor-led organization, has created actual hyper-local solutions to fresh food access in the lowest life expectancy neighborhood in Columbus by building and growing our food and farm distribution systems ourselves. And as neighborhoods' dynamics shift, we've grown to become a preferred volunteer venue for much of Columbus's business community as they seek charitable team-building experiences. Despite the growing pertinence and general celebration of Franklinton Farms' work to combat food insecurity by growing and integrating fresh and healthy food into our community's social fabric, Franklinton Farms as an organization is extremely fiscally insecure. Just like our poverty-stricken neighbors who live paycheck to paycheck, our organization lives grant to grant and farmer's market to farmer's market, and at any given time, we only have a few months of money in the bank. Just like many low-income workers can't level up wage-wise due to limitations in access to education, training, and social capital, Franklinton Farms struggles to sustainably fund our own organization, as we're generally too small, too under-networked, or perceived as too amateur to consistently catch the attention of major granting agencies and philanthropists. These groups have the fiscal resources necessary to support the launch of long-term programming that can build sustainable funding platforms on the foundation of assurance that comes from multi-year funding commitments. And if the grassroots sector of Central Ohio is to survive and thrive, especially in the area of increasingly limited federal grant opportunities, we need not be caught in the cycle of chasing grants, but instead be supported by multiple year fiscal commitments from local governments and area philanthropists that allow stable, uninterrupted program delivery so that grassroots organization leadership can focus on building sustainable, locally sourced fundraising strategies that help elevate our organizations into new chapters of stability and abundance. Thank you.
Thank you, Nick. Susan Bradford up next, and then Amy Klaben with Families Flourish.
Good evening, FRAC representatives and esteemed guests. I am Susan Bradford from the Lincoln Theater, and on behalf of the Lincoln Board of Directors and the staff, I am honored to stand before you today to express our heartfelt appreciation for the opportunity to hear from the benefactors of GCAC and OAC funding. I come to you wearing 2 hats of leadership, each woven with threads of gratitude, vision, and unwavering commitment to the arts. First, as president and artistic director of Chasan West African Dance Institute, now proudly celebrates its 25th anniversary. I offer my deepest praise to GCAC. Their programming, funding, and guidance have transformed Chasan from a fledgling company with full of dreams into a cornerstone of cultural enrichment across our city, our county, and our state. GCAC has been our wellspring, providing nourishment to board development, financial health, marketing, project support, artist stipends, and also capital investment. A decade ago, I set a goal to align our institute with the tools and resources needed to thrive. GCAC answered that call, not just for Chasan, but for the countless others who now drink from that same well of support. Secondly, as executive director of the Lincoln Theater, now in its 16th year since its reopening in 2009, I celebrate GCAC's wavering support from day one. The Lincoln has become the catalyst for artistic and economic growth in the King Lincoln District. thanks to our 10 signature programs. Among them are the Artist Production Development Workshop and the Expand Your Horizon Incubation Program. They are our standout programs. We have invested in over 150 Columbus-based artists to help them transition from hobbyists to professionals. These artists have gone on tour, published books, received commission, and taken leadership roles in arts organizations across the city. They are no longer starving artists. They are thriving creators, enriching our community and providing the artistry that is just a passion into a profession. The Lincoln Theater proudly displays its mission on the marquee, enriching artists and the community, and we live that message every day. Now I pose to the question to FRAC and to all of you, what is a city without the arts? Arts is not a luxury, it's a necessity. It is the heartbeat for social justice. It is the mirror of our humanity and the universal language that speaks to every soul. The work of the Lincoln and other art organizations in Columbus appeals to your creative understanding that the arts bring balance to our world. But let us not forget the true conduit for preservation, presenting, and sustaining the elevation of arts is the funder. Without your support, the canvas will remain blank. So again, I ask, what's the city without the arts? And I'll yield my time with gratitude and an opportunity to live openly and love openly the arts and your commitment to the power of transformation and to lives and community through the arts. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We have Amy Claiborne with Families Flourish, and then after that, Wesley Moore with Our Brothers Keepers.
Good evening. Chair Doyle Ahern, Vice Chair Bartley, thank you for the time to testify today before the Funding Review Advisory Committee and for convening this important discussion. I'm Amy Claiborne, co-founder, CEO, and president of Families Flourish. Families Flourish is a nonprofit organization that transforms the lives of very low-wage working families and their children by providing a comprehensive pathway through housing, coaching, and programs, along with rental support, to families secure economic mobility and wellness. I want to provide remarks inspired by the FRAC's charter. By prioritizing sustainable funding solutions and equitable access to services, the committee aims to create a community where every individual can thrive, not just survive. That's the Columbus and Franklin County we all want. I want to share an idea on each piece of that charter, one on funding and one on thriving. First, on funding. As influential leaders in our community, you each have a big voice on what your peers do. Chair Doyle Ahern, you said it at the evening CMC event 2 weeks ago that philanthropy in Central Ohio has to dig deeper. Can philanthropy cover the hole blown through the government funding in the past several months? Absolutely not. But as Reverend Troy said recently at a Linden Rising event, we don't need to look outside ourselves to support our neighbors, and each one of us can play a role. The November 2024 benchmarking report put out by the Columbus Foundation and the Columbus Partnership showed that among 26 peer cities, Central Ohio ranks in the top 3 for wealth, but the bottom 3 for charitable giving. Through each of your business roles, your influence with community leaders, neighbors, and associates, the members of this committee can help put more philanthropic dollars into play in Columbus. On thriving, every Human Service Chamber member in this room wants to help our clients thrive. And we all take a slightly different approach. Human service advocates understand the need for multiple tools. Focus widely on what truly and permanently can change lives. Don't over-focus on one problem. For our data-driven, outcomes-based work, there is no one-size-fits-all solution. We serve individual humans and individual families, all with radically different needs. We have multiple crises in our region and multiple creative nonprofit solutions. Partner with us and do a little of everything so that individuals and families can thrive and flourish. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Amy. Okay, Mr. Moore, and then we have, after this, Bill Downing with the Community Builders.
Good evening, Madam and Committee. My name is Wesley Moore, founder and director of Our Brothers Keepers, a nonprofit. I am a victim of homeless. I've been homeless all my life, so I speak for the youth that we serve every day and also young adults. Homelessness among youth in Columbus is a growing issue that deserves our urgent attention. Every night, many young people in our city face a harsh reality of not having a safe place. At Our Brothers Keeper, we call it Safe Haven. These youth are often fleeing unsafe home environment, aging out of foster care, and struggling with poverty and limited resource. Without stable housing, they are higher at risk of dropping out of school and facing mental health challenges, and also being exposed to violence. As a community, we have a power to make a difference by supporting local shelters, mentorship programs, and outreach service. We can provide not only shelter, but we also show love and support, but also stability and opportunities to a higher future. No young person should have to worry about somewhere to sleep at night, such as what I did as a young person. Together, we can work towards Columbus to have a safe place, safe support, and resource to help these kids get out of survival mode. Thank you.
Thank you for being with us tonight. Mr. Downing, and then we have Karen Wozenter with Jewish Family Services.
Chair and the members of the committee, my name is Bill Downing with Community Builders, one of the nation's leading nonprofit affordable housing developers. Our organization is proud to have offices located in Columbus and to facilitate the creation of affordable housing in neighboring communities such as Bexley, Ohio. We appreciate the opportunity to share our perspective as you consider strategies to address housing needs in Franklin County and the city of Columbus. Housing is the foundation of our region's growth. Yet today, too many families are priced out of safe, stable homes. Franklin County faces a severe shortage of affordable housing at all income levels, and the rising cost of rent and home ownership threatens long-term economic success and the competitiveness of our community. Without equitable access to housing, we cannot achieve sustainable growth. As developers, we encounter several persistent barriers and constraints to production and preservation, including construction costs that continue to escalate, putting projects at risk. Additionally, pre-development costs and extended timelines that delay housing delivery. Affordable housing developers are exposed to heightened risks during this period and face uncertainty when producing expensive zoning packages and subsidy applications. The need to negotiate tax abatements on a case-by-case basis prolongs approvals and increases uncertainty. High interest rates and the rising cost of capital limit debt capacity, requiring deeper subsidies. Resources to preserve existing affordable housing are limited, even as those properties remain essential to vulnerable populations. Place-based subsidies for extremely low-income households are scarce, and federal budget cuts threaten the continuation. The uncertainty of federal funding and volatility in the tax credit market create risks. As demand for tax credits and see potential decrease, the ability to leverage equity will further be reduced. To overcome these challenges, we recommend a number of pragmatic solutions, such as workforce development investments to address labor shortages in the building trades, dedicated pre-development financing to help developers share risk and accelerate production. Doing so would allow nonprofit developers to pursue more projects concurrently. Streamlined as-of-right tax abatements or pilot programs for affordable housing countywide. Public guarantees and credit enhancements to unlock additional private capital. Insurance consortiums or captive models for nonprofit developers to spread risk and reduce premiums. Expansion of CDFI and affordable housing trust lending programs alongside tools like the Treasurer's Linked Deposit Program to lower borrowing costs. Increased property conveyance fees to strengthen programs such as the Franklin County Magnet Fund. Continued support for the City of Columbus' Affordable Housing Bond Program, including the proposed $500 million bond package. Franklin County is growing rapidly. If we do not keep pace with housing production, the affordability crisis will worsen. We've seen how early adoption of tools similar to these can keep affordability within reach and act as a catalyst for economic growth. By advancing these solutions, the county and the city can equip developers like TCB to meet today's challenges and ensure all residents share in the region's prosperity. Thank you for your leadership and the opportunity to testify.
Thank you very much. Karen, and after Karen, we have Yohanan Terrell from the Columbus Fashion Alliance. Wrote his full name out.
Hi, I'm Karen Mosenter, CEO of Jewish Family Services, a human service agency. We offer a wide range of services and serve populations that reflect the broad diversity of Central Ohio. So we see the economic impact of investments in the human service sector from multiple angles. This includes strategies that help older adults improve the social determinants of health and age in place, generating tremendous savings over the cost of institutional care. Integration supports that help refugees quickly become self-sufficient and serve as a critical labor force for local businesses. Employment services. Last year, we helped 600 people get new jobs at average wages of $20 an hour. That generated $25 million in annual wages on workforce program investments of $3.3 million. We nonprofits profit Central Ohio immeasurably. We are economic engines. I'd like to suggest one approach to public funding of human services that would better feed that engine. Producing stronger outcomes, building organizational capacity, and accommodating private sector and philanthropic partnership. Marshall Troxell and I have been speaking with national experts who help communities develop innovative funding strategies for human services. We heard from one such expert, Third Sector, about a very promising model of outcomes-based funding. This is different from social impact bonds or pay for success. It's a bigger umbrella offering more flexibility and more options. Funding decisions are based on predetermined outcomes developed in collaboration with service providers. Payments shift from a reimbursement model, which is how we're typically funded now, with upfront funding that helps providers build capacity and incentive payments that reward attainment of the outcomes. Here's one example. Third Sector worked with Kings County, Washington to develop a systems approach for mental health funding. The county worked collaboratively with a group of providers who agreed on predetermined outcomes on which funding would be based. Financial incentives were built in for achievement of the outcome goals with upfront and milestone payments. A private sector partner, the Ballmer Group, offered upfront funding directly to the providers to invest in what they needed to obtain the desired outcomes. This outcomes-based approach could be used across the human services, especially in areas like workforce development that have clear, quantifiable outcomes like employment and wage growth. Public funds would be used more efficiently and effectively, and private sector and philanthropic investments could bolster providers' capacity and create incentive for achievement and innovation. It could also remove much of the politics from funding decisions, enabling providers and funders to focus time and energy on developing and implementing solutions that work. So Marshall has more information and context for the experts we spoke with, and I hope you will consider this as one of the many recommendations that will help benefit the human services and local residents and the continued growth and vitality of our region. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Come on in. Yep. And our last speaker will be Katie Coy with the Jazz Arts Group of Columbus.
Good evening, committee. Thank you for allowing me to speak today. I had gotten this down to 5 minutes, and then I realized we only had 3 minutes, so I'm going So I'm going to try to get through this as fast as possible. I'm here really to talk about in support of how arts and culture can help benefit our city. So if I know some of you, and as you know, I'm really passionate about the city. That's why I'm nervous, because I really care about the city and this region. My name is Johanna Terrell. I'm the Executive Director of the Columbus Fashion Alliance, and I also believe in service, so I've had the blessed opportunity to serve on the Create Columbus Commission, the Short North Alliance Board, the Lincoln Theater Board, and I currently serve on the Experience Columbus Board and the Greater Columbus Arts Commission Board. And so from those roles, I basically came to this conviction. At Experience Columbus, I learned that cities thrive when not only they have the resources to tell their story, but they also have a unique story to tell. At GCAC, I've seen how the arts infuse every part of life, becoming a magnet for people and a voice when words alone are not enough. Do you guys remember like 2020 and how the arts responded to that as well too? In the Short North, I saw firsthand how cultural hubs drive real economic activity, particularly when creatives and businesses collaborate. And on the Create Columbus Commission, I learned to reimagine what Columbus could be. And I really appreciate that, how Columbus influences and how culture influences talent attraction, tourism, and economic development. I know today you guys are here to talk about how funds derived from certain tax structures can help sustain vital initiatives like the arts, marketing, housing, health and human services, and more. And one of those is the bed tax and also the retail tax and things like that we're looking at. And so one thought struck me. While we consider how to allocate those funds across sectors, a few of these entities receiving these funds are directly tied to how the funds are generated. And so, and not too many of them are actually accountable for the experiences and the things that drive heads and beds and actually add to the retail tax. So my question is, how do we fill these buckets strategically? Right? I know there's a lot being done here in the region, but how do we work together with our cultural communities and our cultural leaders and lean into our cultural strengths? So I propose that while we are at this pivotal moment of thinking about how these structures will be utilized in the next few years, could we also take a moment to think innovatively about driving our economic impact through culture? I'll share a couple examples that you may probably already know of, but we look at cities in our comp set like Nashville, right? Nashville has a long history of musical infrastructure, right? Like Music Row. The music industry contributes about $7.5 billion annually and supports 75,000 jobs. We look at Louisville. Bourbon has long been central to Louisville's, to their identity, but in recent investment in their downtown with this urban bourbon movement, more distilleries, tasting rooms, and experiences has grown into a $9 billion economic impact and also employs 23,000 people in the city. We even look at smaller examples like Blink in Cincinnati. Man, this is what happens. That bring in, through their event, Blink, they bring in $170 million of economic impact and $6.8 million in state and city taxes. At the end of the day, what I'm trying to convey is that I think this is a great moment for us to actually take a look at how we leverage culture. We have culture like fashion. It's one of the biggest industries in our city, but also one of the top industries in our country. I think we should really lean into that. I think things like food is also something we should consider and build infrastructure around. So we'd be willing to be at the table and just say, how can we help strategize how to fill that bucket so that we can support all of these organizations that are here. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, and our last speaker for the evening is Katie Coy with the Jazz Arts Group of Columbus.
Good evening. My name is Katie Coy, and I'm the Chief Executive Officer of Jazz Arts Group, America's oldest nonprofit dedicated to jazz performance and education. I'm here on behalf of Columbus's vibrant and one-of-a-kind arts sector. First, I want to acknowledge the difficult work you've undertaken. I don't envy your task, but I do want to share what the funding model means on the ground for Jazz Arts Group. A sense of stability has been missing in the arts, maybe since the recession, certainly since COVID, and honestly, even before that. At Jazz Arts Group, our budget has hovered up or down by the same 15% over the last 15 years. Yet, in that same time, we've increased the number of citizens we serve, increased the quality and output of our staff, and retained our artistic director, Byron Stripling, who also serves as principal pops conductor of the Pittsburgh and Milwaukee Symphonies and is a sought-after musician around the country. Byron and our musicians bring national and international acclaim to Columbus. Byron could live anywhere, but he chooses Columbus because this is a city where art and community truly connect. He wanted to be here this evening, but he's at rehearsal. As you know, the arts cannot be both universally accessible and fully self-sustaining. If we price tickets to meet the true cost of our performances, education, programs, and staff, many families simply couldn't afford to attend. Free concerts, accessible education, and fair wages for artists exist only through philanthropic and public support. Every year, Jazz Arts Group must raise or earn every single dollar in our budget, even as one of only a handful of world-class jazz institutions of our size and scope in the United States. We meet that challenge with intention, innovation, and fiscal discipline, working to serve more people with fewer resources every year. Charitable giving has softened, and the disconnection that lingers from the pandemic has changed how people gather. But we persevere in rebuilding the community, inviting people back together at the very moment our resources are leanest, because the show must go on. That is why the support provided through GCAC, whether from Franklin County, the ticket fee, or the visionary ticket tax, is not just helpful, it is a shield. In a national landscape where performing arts organizations face extraordinary financial volatility, this model protects Columbus. It allows our arts community not just to survive, but to lead, to show what's possible when a city believes in culture as a public good. One of our musicians often says, "We are in the people business. Music is just the tool we use to serve people." That's why nearly half of JAG's education programming happens in Columbus City schools, from pre-K through high school, and why we have developed innovative and enormously effective music and wellness programs that span cradle to grave. The performing arts are fragile everywhere, but here in Columbus we have something rare and worth protecting. Please help us keep that shield intact. Help us stay the course, continue to rebuild, and ensure that what makes Columbus exceptional, its art, its people, and its shared vision for culture, continues to thrive. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Marshall, I'm just going to double check. That was our final speaker, correct? Okay. For those of you who are still sitting back here, thank you for being with us this evening and to the committee. Obviously, this was an important meeting for us to be at, so thank you everyone for attending this evening. And this does conclude our meeting, and we'll be adjourning at this point and meeting again in a couple weeks. Thanks.